So we are now picking our brackets. You can sign up and join our bracket group before the tournament begins on Thursday. I think it's like 2019 bracket challenge kind of URL, but link is in the description. So here is my bracket. I'm going to warn you, I grew up in Virginia, specifically in Blacksburg, and Virginia Tech was terrible at basketball when I was growing up. So it was the sport that no one cared about. But here we go. First round, Duke, the odds of a 16 seed beating a 1 seed, minimal. Although UVA has found a way to lose to tiny teams before. VCU versus UCF. I think that Taco Fall is an absolute beast. Tough defense, and 8 and 9 seeds typically are 50-50 draws. So I take UCF. Mississippi State and Liberty. I don't really like Liberty. So Mississippi State it is. Virginia Tech and St. Louis, it's VT all the way. I'm really excited. Justin Robinson is back. I think they're going to do well. Maryland versus Belmont or Temple. I'm going to take Maryland out of the Big Ten. But I don't think that they're going to go very far. Beyond that, they had some injuries. LSU and Yale. I actually think that LSU is going to take the whole controversy surrounding their team and like have that be a galvanizing moment for them. So I like LSU to win here. Louisville and Minnesota. Louisville. Michigan State over Bradley. Okay, so going back up to the top. I think Duke with Zion Williamson being back is too much. Duke's going to beat UCF. Virginia Tech is going to advance over Mississippi State in what I think will be a close game. Maryland versus LSU. Again, I think that LSU is going to like come around as a team in order to come behind all the controversy. LSU moves on. And then Michigan State versus Louisville. I think Michigan State. That's too much. What's my reasoning for that? I don't know. Duke versus Virginia Tech. I don't want to hear any haters here. I love Virginia Tech. The fact that I think that they're going to win 2 games in this tournament is like a miracle. I am not one of the one that's like, we have to make it past the Sweet 16 or he gets fired. No, like, you made it to the Sweet 16. Woohoo! It's a win. First time in school history that they're in the tournament for 3 years straight. It was a good ride. But since this is competitive, Duke's going to win. And then I think that LSU's wheels fall off here. Michigan State goes into the Elite 8 with Duke going to the Final Four. All right, so then in the West region, I like the Zags to go over whoever it is that they have to do a play-in with. Let me scroll down and check out. I've got Syracuse over Baylor. I've got Marquette over Murray State. I've got Florida State. Buffalo ASU. I took Buffalo. Why? I don't know. Chalk. Texas Tech over Northern Kentucky. I've got Nevada going over Florida. And then Michigan over Montana. Coming back up to the top, I like the Zags to beat Q's. I like FSU to move ahead. I've got Texas Tech moving past Buffalo. These picks are not very exciting because it's mostly chalk. And then finally, I got Michigan coming out over Nevada. Here, Gonzaga wins, and then Michigan wins for a very boring matchup of 1 and 2 seed in the Elite 8. And then I took, what did I take? I took Gonzaga.
Let's just note that Marcus doesn't believe in Cinderella stories.
Yeah, I really don't. And we always point to them, but odds are they don't happen all that much. So, like, one team makes an upset and then they lose in the next round. Like, Cinderella stories don't actually happen as much as we think they happen. All right.
Until this year. So that Dana's bracket is.
So that Dana's bracket
is.
I I really hate this, and I know that I think Patrick and Lance are going to give me crap for how far I think this team is going to go. But we had to play them, and that was tough. I think UVA wins in the first round. This is going to be a recurring theme for the rest of this this time. I've got Ole Miss beating Oklahoma. I had a reasoning for it. I don't remember what it is.
Because they're Southern?
Because they're Southern. I tend to like Pac-10 or Big Ten schools over the Pac-12. And so I've got Wisconsin. Length and such. And then I got Kansas State. KSU. Over UC Irvine. Yeah. Very exciting. Villanova. Going to beat St. Mary's. Purdue is going over ODU. I disagree with Dana. I also don't want Old Dominion to go very far because, in a completely unrelated matter, they beat Virginia Tech in football, and now they're just doomed to lose in everything that they do.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Strong reasons here.
I agree.
Cincinnati over Iowa. Virginia Tech's athletic director came from Cincinnati. Fun fact.
Okay.
Yep. And then Tennessee over Colgate. Because not a lot of 15 seeds beat a 2 team. I think they said like only 4 have ever done it. And I don't think it happens here. Going back up to the top. UVA. The only reason I'm doing this is because I need the points if I'm gonna like survive in this bracket.
It's like your Duke.
Yeah. You hate them, but you think they're gonna. Again, this is very boring because this is like very chalk oriented. Kansas State advances. I have Purdue over Villanova and Tennessee. So like chalk. Have fun. Finally, it's gonna be Tennessee here, UVA here, and UVA is going to advance. All right, so far I've got two ACC teams in my Final Four.
I approve.
Very good. Zags coming out of the West. So let's go down to the Midwest. UNC, again, this is going to be a recurring theme.
Yay!
I was there at the Virginia Tech UNC game, and they were rather impressive. I think that they're a really good team. Utah State to go over Washington. Why? Because the summary of the Utah State team sounded nicer than the summary of the Washington. And I understand that it's completely biased because they have a higher seed. I'm a sucker for it. We're gonna go down here. We got who did I pick? I picked Auburn.
Yay!
War Eagle. And then I have Kansas coming out. I have Iowa State. And I have Houston. And then I do think that Wofford wins here. I don't know why Dana wanted them to go so far. I don't think that they go any further.
Because they're from South Carolina.
And I had Kentucky, primarily off of their record. They had some notable wins that I like. So then it's Kentucky. Pat Evans will be so happy about that.
Yeah, Pat's not going to like mine.
I got Houston here. Again, like I'm fairly a chalk person just because the stats are in my favor for that. I've got Kansas. And then I've got UNC.
That's right.
And Kansas and UNC. That'd be a huge game.
Yes,
but UNC comes out victorious, setting up an only bigger game where UK and UNC would face off in the Elite Eight with UNC.
Okay, good.
Moving on.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so my Final Four: Duke, UVA, Gonzaga, UNC. People are walking by our office, and here's where I think it is. I think it's UVA. But people are going to call me not a real fan of Virginia Tech, but
Marcus!
sometimes you just have to recognize talent where talent is. So I've got
More than UNC?
Yeah,
Excuse me?
I've got, just like Dana, I have an ACC final, but I think that Duke, if Zion stays healthy throughout the entire tournament, goes on to be the champion. And I've got it a little lower scoring. I've got it 75-63.
I think I need to fire you now.
Fair enough. I also know nothing about basketball, so this bracket will be at the bottom of our group.
Ugh.